Note 8, 6 months later. That video's coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here. The Note 8, it's hard to believe, but this thing is already 6 months old. Yes, I've had this thing since launch, as many of you may have well known, but I'm doing this video because I figured I did the S8 Plus an update on how it's been doing. What about the Note 8 now? Because I've had this one for quite some time as well. Not a year old yet, but we're already thinking Note 9. People are already starting to talk about what's going to come with the Note 9, but this phone is still the latest one. So what about the lag? I want to begin by talking about lag. Is there any lag on the Note 8? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. When on the S8 Plus, from time to time, there was a little bit of lag, over time. Once it warms up, it's pretty good overall, but there was a few twitches here and there. But on the Note 8, I don't really see that at all. And since my 6 months of using it, I don't get what these people are talking about who say, oh, the lag sung and stuff like that. What are you talking about? Have you actually used a Samsung Note 8? This thing does not lag. It's built for power. It's got 6 gigs of RAM, which is definitely needed on a Samsung phone, and hence why I think it performs better than the S8 and the S8 Plus. But you know what? It's pretty lag free in my experience. Now, I don't feel like it's as smooth as the iPhone just yet. And what I mean by that is there's just something about iOS, or it just kind of looks smoother when you're scrolling than on the Samsung. But that doesn't mean that there's lag on the Samsung. So it just looks a little smoother on iOS, but there's still no lag here. So I haven't had any twitches, hangs, or nothing like that on my Note 8 since I've gotten it. Okay, so let's talk about the camera and the video quality with the Note 8. Now, when I first got this phone, I did a most detailed camera review on the lens here and the camera, how it works out the video as well. I'll leave that link down below, but I really like the looks of it. I think it looks pretty cool how everybody's doing a vertical camera, but the Samsung phone has it sideways. This is the first Samsung with a dual camera. Now the S9 Plus is going to have it, but you know what? Both are optically stabilized, and that really helped out a lot. Now, the camera itself on the rear has been pretty great in my experience. I still think that the Pixel 2 and the iPhone series outdid the Note 8 on the camera when it comes to overall sharpness and detail. But the Note 8 has those pictures that are just super saturated and you're ready to share right after, shooting the photo, which is, I think, more consumer friendly than the iPhone photos, which I feel need a little bit of tweaking in Lightroom and stuff like that to really get the best look out of them. Now, if you go to stickers here, you can see they have these fun modes here with the sticker, these cheesy stickers. They're fun once in a while to play around with. So I had fun with those as well. Now, I like that the settings were in the camera here as well on the Note 8. That was always great. That comes with other Samsung phones. But one thing I didn't like about the Note 8 is that it tended to produce some softness around the edges when you did use the portrait mode with this live focus feature. So even though it has that portrait stuff, sometimes you would see little softness around the edges. So that's definitely a first generation feature here, and it needs to be worked out in the Note 9. Now, I also don't like the slider here on the camera thing. Just sometimes you would hit it accidentally and it would start zooming automatically. I much prefer just to do this when I am zooming on stuff here with the Note 8. So overall, the rear cameras are solid. Video recording was pretty good as well. I still think it's beat by the Pixel and the iPhone when it comes to video recording, but it's definitely usable. It's definitely going to look pretty good if you get some good lighting with the videography. But one area that I really didn't like with this camera was the front-facing camera. The front-facing camera was just not up to, what I usually like to see from a front-facing camera. And what I mean by that is it wasn't as sharp as I would like. You couldn't zoom in on this mode either. So front-facing camera, to me, needs some work on the Note series of devices. I know a lot of people using Notes are probably not super into that front-facing camera, but just to be the most premium, priciest Samsung, they need to throw a sharper camera than that 8 megapixel that's in there right now. And it's mostly due to the sensor side. You just need to make that sensor like a 1/2.5 to make it a little bit sharper than this one here in the Samsung Note 8. So that's how I feel about the cameras. So 6 months in, the feel in the hand of the Note 8, ergonomics we're talking about here. So first of all, Samsung nailed it with the Samsung S8 and S8 Plus, as well as the S9s now that are out. They just nailed design when it comes to ergonomics on these devices. But then came the Note 8, and Samsung decided to square off the edges. Now, this is, I think, a good thing for Note users because it makes the canvas a little bit more like, a notebook or something like that. So it makes sense why they did this, but in doing that, the Note 8 actually doesn't feel quite as comfortable in the hand. These edges they feel a little bit sharper in the corner. I mean, it's not gonna hurt your hand or anything like that, but you could definitely feel it, squeezing into the palm a little bit less than the SA, where the SA kind of just, naturally just rests there in the palm. The only way I could describe it is it feels kind of pointy when you put it in your palm. This one just naturally rests how it should in the palm. So overall, that's one thing I want to mention. Also with the ergonomics, the Note 8 is very tall. So even me with these large hands, I was still like, let me reach the top of this phone quite a bit. Let me get up there. And this did help. This one-handed mode helped a ton on this phone, and you're probably going to need to use it more than you would on like a smaller S8, for example. But when you have the pen out, that's no issue when you're using your S Pen and stuff like that to pull down the top. But it is a reach if you are trying to one-hand this phone. This was one of the worst one-handed phones I've ever used. Even though it's a lot narrower than, the 16:9 displays, it's still really hard to go up there and do that all day. So I think this is not your one-handed phone. So if you're trying to one-hand, unless you got like Shaq size hands, you're definitely not going to be one-handing the Note 8. So let's talk about that display. Look at that thing. Isn't it just beautiful? That AMOLED OLED panel right there, 2K glory. That is just a stunning display right there on the Note 8. Now, what I want to talk about with the display is that this is a very saturated display. So if you like a natural look, you're not going to like the Note 8. But if you really like, OLED technology, the deep black, the inky colors, it really looks good. But even when I go in settings here, display, and I put on, the basic mode, this will take off that super saturation. It still doesn't look super natural. It looks a little bit off to me. So if you like that more natural look, you want to go with an iPhone. But if you like that, OLED punchy color, this is the best you can get, I think, on any phone. That's above the iPhone 10 as well. In terms of text sharpness, super sharp, very easy on the eye when reading with this device here. So, overall, this is a fantastic display. It looks like it's a sticker on the phone right here. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just top of the line when it comes to display. And the only thing I would say is that it's just a little bit very saturated. So if you don't like that, you're not going to like the Note 8. So that's how I feel about the display in my 6 months of using it. I really liked using this to watch videos because it's so large. It's like having a handheld tablet in your pocket at all times. Battery life. This phone actually got better over time using the phone. It was like, I got this security update in December, right? And when I got this update, I was noticing that those percentages just were really going down super slow. And this is funny because right at a time when Apple is having all this battery issues, going on, they have to replace the batteries and stuff like that. The Note 8 over here is just killing it on the battery game, just really going down slow. And then on top of that, fast charger included in the box. So you definitely can make it really easy to charge this device. You can get fast chargers, wireless chargers. This thing does it all when it comes to charging. Not only that, throw on the max modes and you're going to be good to go if you are running low. So I'm not sure everyone's having the same experience as me, but this phone actually has gotten better over 6 months, not worse. And that's funny because usually a lithium ion battery, the cycle count will start to lower the health of the battery. But, I must be doing pretty well with what I'm charging and how I'm charging it because it's actually gotten better. And this is definitely going through a full day. If you want actual use numbers, I'm getting about 6 to 7 hours on screen time. And standby is actually quite excellent for an Android phone, especially if you don't have any apps that are draining the battery in the background. This is an all-day phone easily. All right, so let's discuss the durability, the build quality of the Samsung Note 8. Now, you cannot see it through this camera lens because it's so reflective, this device, but this device actually held up very well. There's a little, micro scratches in the fingerprint scanner. There's a little bit of micro scratches in the glass, but this black really hides it well. I have a little scuff down here on the left-hand corner at the bottom, but it's nothing that I can really look, unless I'm like peeking at it with some glasses or something like that, or getting really close with some little magnifying glass. I'm not really gonna see it that much. Now, it did chip a little bit up here at the top of the front above these sensors and stuff. There's a little bit of chipping going on, but I don't really see it again because it's black. Now, I do take the SIM card a lot as well. Right here, I did get a lot of scratches, a little bit around where the SIM card tray is, but that's easily fixed if you just buy a new SIM card tray for $10 on Amazon. The sides of the device have held up extremely well over 6 months. There's nothing to speak of there. And overall, if I showed you this device in person, if you've seen my Note 8, you would think it's a brand new device. It looks that good. So no scratching really going on at the bottom here where the charging port is. So I think this one's actually better built than the Samsung Galaxy S8 series was, even though those are really good. I think the Note 8 is the most durable Samsung phone right now. I have to test out the S9 Plus to see if that's more durable, but this is the most durable Samsung I've ever seen. Now, if you do drop it, on the glass, of course it's going to crack. If you hit the corners, you have a chance of cracking this display, but I haven't done so, and I have actually dropped it on its back straight on the floor, and look at it. It still looks amazing. So that should say something right there. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about fingerprint and biometrics. So, hitting the fingerprint scanner, no problem. I got used to where it was at. It's actually a little bit less likely to hit the camera lens than on the S8 Plus. So I really had no problem with the fingerprint scanner here on the Note 8. Now, the biometric scanning is actually quite, reliable here on this phone in good light. It's really hard to see it here because I got the camera blocking the sensors, but it definitely works well, the biometrics and face unlock here. Now, if you do get in dark lighting, sometimes it doesn't work that great, so you're definitely have to rely on the fingerprint scanner. But what I really liked was the options, like having the ability to use the fingerprint over my last 6 months, as well as the facial recognition. Every time one didn't work, I was like, okay, well, at least I got the other one. So I felt like I had this level of freedom that I don't really get on other phones, and options and features. I really like that. So overall, I'm not too upset with this. I do think Samsung should improve their accuracy and the level of security that these features offer, because Apple's got them beat when it comes to security. But you know what? It was pretty fun to use over the last 6 months, and definitely not something that I think is, horrible on this phone. Okay, so let's discuss audio quality here with the Note 8. So I'm not going to go on too long about this. This thing right here didn't sound great, just like it didn't sound great on the S8. Easy to cover up. They fixed that. They're fixing that here this year with their, new speakers, whatever they want to market about that Dolby Atmos. I don't care. They put stereo speakers here on the front of the new devices, so that's improved. But this one for this phone, not the greatest. It is loud, but it's easy to cover. Now, the headphone jack is something that a lot of people say, well, Samsung needs to move on already. They're stuck in the past. Everybody's removing the headphone jack. But at the same time, they're also listening to the customers here on this one. And I actually like that, because a lot of people don't upgrade their headphones every day. Headphones is not a product you upgrade over and over again, and not having a headphone jack on the latest smartphone feels like a forced purchase, which I really don't like. So I like how Samsung left that on there. It doesn't sound better than like on the LG V30, but there are some equalizer settings and stuff like that that can get you some great audio through that headphone jack. So it was always nice to have that, as well as video makers who like to put Rode video mics and stuff like that into their phone. Boom, it's right there. You don't got to buy any extra adapters, accessories, all that mumbo jumbo. It's right there on the phone. So that's how I feel about the audio. While the speaker's not the best, the headphone jack made up for it on this device. Okay, so I want to discuss the S Pen. Has it been functional? How much have I used it? Which features were kind of gimmicky in my opinion? Well, I don't know if they're gimmicky, but they're features that were marketed very heavily that I didn't find myself using. Now, I did always use the Create Note feature. That's the basic one where you just say, hey, you just start writing notes, whatever you need to write down. That I use all the time. I think it was a little bit, confusing that you had to go into the notes, to go into this little menu to pin them to the home screen. But I think most users who are using a Note will get the hang of it, and we'll learn how to use the most of that note-taking setup and how you got to pin stuff through the app itself. I wish there was a pin feature right from the shortcuts. Smart Select right here, if you go ahead and select something on the screen. I didn't use this too much, but when I needed it, it was awesome. Most phones can do that just on a screenshot. You can just use your finger. So that's nothing that's, stand out about the Note 8. Screen Write, another feature you can use on other phones. But having this as a hover tool was one of my favorites. Like, pulling stuff down like that, or going in the browser and just scrolling through a website. That's really, what I liked about this. So if you go ahead and scroll down, for example, like this, I love that hover feature and the pinpoint accuracy of the S Pen. Now, this S Pen, though, overall, I think that it's something that is like, you're better having it than not having it, because when you need it, it's awesome. But if you don't have it and you used the Note 8 before or used a Note before, you're going to miss it. So in terms of the lock screen one, where you pull it out from the lock screen and you could take a note on the lock screen, I didn't use this too much because I don't like to be distracted by my lock screen, but I can see where that can be handy for people. So overall, I think the S Pen offers a lot of features. The live message was the feature I think that I didn't use that much, that was heavily marketed. This one was just kind of a marketed feature. I think some people use it, but I didn't use this hardly at all. But I think that the Note 8 has more features than you need on the S Pen, but everybody's going to be a little bit different, so that's nice to have. But I think the one that matters the most is just the creating note feature in general and the hovering with the pen. That's the most use I got out of this in 6 months. Okay, so we're 6 months in. What is the conclusion of the Note 8? What do I think so far? Well, you heard most of the sections here, but my final take is, this phone, if there was one phone I could use, like only one phone, this would be it, because this is the phone that feels most like the handheld computer. Now, luckily I have the options to go between this and an ergonomic phone like the iPhone 10, for example, when I don't feel like using this really tall brick in my hand. But overall, this phone offers the most, level of freedom I feel on a phone, the most level of productivity I feel on the phone, and the most, features in one package here for the price. So it offers tremendous value in that regard. I think if you're a photographer, you might want to skip out on this one. Like if you want the best smartphone camera, you want to skip out on this one. But if you're a business person or you run your business through your phone, you want to take a serious look at this phone. And if you're someone who wants, as much as they can get in one phone, you seriously want to take a look at the Note 8. But if you like ergonomics, you like a very sexy, slim, slender, really good looking phone, stay away from this one. Overall, it's the total package here after 6 months, in my perspective. That's it here. If you found this video helpful, enjoyable, do me a favor, click that like button for me and leave your comments down below. Do you have a Note 8? Are you thinking about getting one? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I will catch you all in the next one, and peace.